Pay them a couple of bucks and that would show them in the door.
All right, we're gonna open up this March 7th Planning and Zoning meeting at 4 o'clock. First item on the agenda today is approval of the minutes from the January 4th meeting. Anyone have any corrections or comments on the minutes?
Turn the mic on.
I will move to approve the January 4th meetings as provided.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. All right, we're gonna move into the public hearing phase. Item 3A, an ordinance to change the zoning from Plan Development District PDD 110-3 to IM Industrial Manufacturing on approximately 86 acres. Drew?
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon. This is a request to change from the existing Plan Development District to Industrial and Manufacturing. The existing PD was written in 2003, specific for when USDA was actually looking to relocate onto this property. As you've probably seen on Highway 16, they obviously did not relocate and are redoing that facility. But this existing PD limits it to an insect research facility. Obviously, we don't have an abundance of those, so we do have a request for a project that does require the industrial and manufacturing zoning. Partnered with the Economic Improvement Corporation with Megacrete. So this request is zoned from PD to IM. You can see the subject property here, mostly surrounded by county property outside the city limits, and then abuts the airport across the creek. It is part of the Strategic Catalyst Area 11, which allows for heavy commercial and light industrial uses near the airport. If it were across the river, the Catalyst Area specifically talks about outdoor tourism near the river to help with environmental protections along the river. There are some adjacent residential uses in the county, a church to the north and some larger county parcels to the northeast. And the property does have some restrictions coming from the Economic Improvement Corporation. I've had several questions this week, just what other restrictions apply to the property besides just the industrial zoning. So through those property restrictions, no wells can be drilled. EIC does have to approve exterior elevations of any construction, any buildings. The land is required, or to be used for this required use. Any additional uses must be approved by EIC. There are screening requirements for any improvements within 200 feet of the property line, and they additionally require dark sky compliance. Of course, City Council also passed dark sky ordinance as a requirement for any new construction, but especially adjacent to the airport, that's a key factor for the airport and their operations. Staff recommends the approval as it is consistent with the Strategic Catalyst Area and the comprehensive plan. We do have a representative from Megacrete here if you have any specific questions for them. And with that, I'd be pleased to answer any questions before or after the public hearing.
Anybody have any questions? The representative is here. Do you guys have a site plan design yet for where you're gonna locate the building?
Can go to the mic a second.
Turn this on.
Is it on?
Yes, sir.
Yes. We're working on the final layout, sir. We have a layout of the main facility, and we are studying several locations within the tract. At this point in time, we believe that the setback from about 400 feet from Peterson Avenue will be the best location because it's the flattest area, the highest portion of the ground.
So 400 feet back off the main entrance?
Correct.
Okay, that was my question. Anybody else? Thank you. We'll open up the public hearing on this at 4:04. We have some speakers. You can sit down.
Thanks, sir.
Bruce Kreiser?
Yeah, I guess I'm here just because I don't really want to see a cement plant going across the street from my house. And the whole aspect of how the county and the city are cooperating on that road, I don't really understand it. The YouTube that was on was hard to get to. And I don't know if they've got a good plan for that Silver Creek that runs through just about the length of the property they're looking at. But I've seen water over the top of the bridge where that just about ends at Peterson Road, just before the Mooney Road comes. There's a little bridge there. I've seen water over that. And I understand they're supposed to make that entrance road coming past Mooney good enough for like 2 big trucks to pass. But wouldn't it also need like a deceleration lane when you're coming out from Center Point? Because right now, you just kind of are there, and then when you turn, there's maybe a half of a lane, but it's shoulder, it's gravel. There's gonna be some work, I think, probably need to go there.
I fully understand what you're talking about, and that will be probably subject to approval. That'll be in the development phase, which I guess EIC has full control over the design. It'll have to meet all the traffic studies, DOT standards and everything. And those issues will be addressed
Okay,
if and when the planning stages, the design stages come.
Yeah.
And you will be able to probably get full access to those, take a look at what they're planning as they go along. And I have no guarantees, but I would expect that that's gonna have to be, one of many things that's gonna have to be taken into consideration whenever
Yeah.
if and when they start the process, because I understand what you're saying as far as
Correct.
ingress and egress and traffic coming back and forth.
yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Drew, but I would suspect that that's something that's gonna go into the planning and development stage, correct?
Right. City and county are partnering on the updates to the roadway. They'll obviously coordinate with TxDOT as required, if there are any improvements necessary. But that project isn't fully designed yet. Obviously, we haven't started construction, so I don't have any exact answers for that.
Yeah, before my time is up too, I wanted to just throw it out. We're not, the people of Casacombe, the 30 houses that are across the street from their facility, we're not sure exactly how they're gonna manufacture. Is it gonna be, bringing in the components of concrete and mixing it? Is it gonna be bringing in cement trucks and using that? And there's just questions about dust. The amount of water that would be used for a cement facility, the water even used to keep the dust down. And I think there's a TQ, EQ, whatever they're called.
EQEC, yeah.
Yes, I think they've got something about a cement factory can't be, sharing a property line with a church. There's so many different things that we don't know about.
I don't have the answers to those questions. I'm assuming, since Dalton stood up, the one thing I do believe is it's a 140,000 square foot facility, and the manufacturing, I believe, is done inside the building. Am I wrong? So I would assume, but you're right about dust and right about water and everything else. Dalton, you have any comments?
No, members of Planning and Zoning, appreciate your questions and comments. So I actually had the very fortunate opportunity to tour the facility in Monterrey, Mexico. And what really impressed me on it overall is everything is inside, and so there's 5 components, and I'm not an AAC guy, I'm a city manager, so it's obviously different. But walking around the facility, all the components, cement, some of the other things that they have in there, the only material that was actually outside being loaded into basically the conveyor stuff was sand. And all of that was in covers and outside. And this was an older facility. So all of the mixing is actually done inside the facility itself. Everything is enclosed. So the cement and all that goes in silos that they actually mix within the system, because it's not just a traditional concrete powder. And again, I'm not a concrete guy, but it's not a traditional concrete where you mix the stuff and there's dust everywhere and it flies everywhere. All of this stuff gets mixed in with the water, with I guess they call slurry or something, to put into the giant stuff, and all that happens inside the facility.
Well, then there's the whole water thing again too.
Yeah, well, and so, we have roughly, don't quote me on the number, but we have about 10 or 15 what we call dead-end mains throughout the city. We total dumping water, well, I say dumping, flushing water because of TCEQ, so a state agency, we don't have a choice, about 26 plus million gallons a year across the entire one. 13 million comes from this site. Now, full transparency here, and I'm gonna put my foot in my mouth, everybody's gonna love it. When it comes to, yes, when we flush it, that water goes, back into the system, back into the ground. That's taxpayer stuff. And so at the end of the day, we're doing it because of TCEQ, but at the end of the day, that's taxpayer water that's getting flushed. So we would rather put that into where it's being actually used so we can offset infrastructure, offset revenue, and again, continue to do what we've done with our, with the city's 5 sources of water, so we can maintain and be good stewards of the aquifer, because we're using 20% of the aquifer. Everything else is through our aquifer storage recovery, through surface water, through everything. So yes, I understand water's concern, but this facility alone, one of the agreements that EIC made was they're not allowed to drill a well. So that's protecting the aquifer, which they technically could by Headwaters rules. We said, nope, if you're gonna develop on this land, y'all can't drill a well, which means they do have to go off the city's water system, which means that we are gonna continue to be good stewards of the aquifer and of the region.
But that also means our little well, isolated from the, I don't know, 8 maybe wells the city uses, we don't have that option. We're just right there. And whether you take the water from there or up by Ingram or whatever, it's all gonna drop down that aquifer a little bit at a time.
You know, I'm definitely not an aquifer, person. Headwaters sent out their monthly report. The aquifer went up 4 feet this last month alone, which was 2 or 3 feet higher than it was a year ago to date. The aquifer is continuing to go up. Again, the other thing, and some have talked about it being a slow-moving river. You're right, it is. That spans all the way to Oklahoma. So we're not the only users on this. We're not the only ones pulling from the aquifer. There's the water situation in the aquifer extends beyond Megacrete. It extends beyond the city. It extends beyond the counties, and it extends beyond the state. And it's something that we're all constantly working on, trying to make sure that we're improving it.
Yeah, it looks like we're almost at the end of it, and then it becomes not the Trinity, the Edwards. But, every straw that goes down pulling out water is gonna affect everything.
I don't disagree, sir. And you hit the nail on the head on that one. And that's where, obviously from a city side, we're not putting a bunch of straws into the ground. Those are the water districts. And guess what? When you got 5,000 plus straws going into the ground, that has nothing to do with the city. We're actually starting to regulate straws getting put in the ground. That's above our pay grade.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your concern. It sounds like we're all on the same page.
Absolutely.
Next comes the noise. But
Like I said, I toured the facility. Take what I say with a grain of salt. I was highly impressed with everything. Michael, did you have something?
No, I was gonna wait until we get through with the public hearing, everybody's comments, and we can address them all at once.
Yeah, we can do that.
I'm pretty much done.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Tom Featherstone.
First thing I wanted to do is, I know you know your intent, but I wanted for the public to know the intent of the zoning board. The number one intent is to promote a harmonious relationship between uses, which promotes and protects the aesthetic quality of the landscape and enhances the value of the land and the buildings. If you look at the picture, it's absolutely, you should drop that just by looking at, you're right on the edge of a church. You're in a county with farmland, with ranches. The city bought this piece of property, like he said, for the USDA, which didn't use it. And now they're trying to back in industry. What he just said was light industrial. This is the first time I read that tonight, was light industrial. This is by no means light industrial. This is a huge 120,000 square foot plant that brings in silica sand. It's not concrete. They're using silica sand. Silica sand is a known carcinogen. It's not all inside. It has to go into silos. When it gets blown into the silos, it finds its way into the air. There's no way around it. So what you're doing is affecting property values, the aesthetics of the area. Have you gone out to look at the area? Have you seen it? So you drive down this beautiful road, there's a Catholic school, high school. The kids drive from the Catholic high school down to the ball fields. Every Friday night lights, you ever been to a ball game? The road is full of cars, both sides, up from the Our Lady of the Hills Catholic High School. There's no room for a truck to get down that road. So they've decided to build Almuni Road, but there's nothing to stop trucks, if they want to, from going down Peterson Farm Road. There's nothing, and it's a small country road. They would totally cost $2 million to redo Peterson Farm Road to make that work for the plant. So they decided, well, we'll each give $850,000 and do Almuni Road. The trucks can still get down there. There's kids on that road. It's not built for trucking. It's just not the right place for this. It's wrong. I had a couple of questions too. What's the height of the building?
The total height of the building is going to be 18 feet. 18, and in some places it's going to be 18 feet, and total it's going to be 21 feet.
With the silos?
No, the main facility. The silo goes up to, it's only a small part of it, 35 feet.
So it's 35 feet.
Yeah, but it's only the two silos, not the entire facility, which represent less than 1% of the entire facility.
How is the building gonna deal with waste? I had a meeting with, Mr. Garza, who's the CEO of Megacrete, and he said they're not even going to have, waste going to the solid waste plant. That it's just gonna be a little septic system. Well, I know for a fact that the city is also looking in how to deal with solid waste. There's gonna be waste, and he told me there's no waste. Do you have solid waste going to the waste facility?
Ms. Shigerman, this is your.
Yeah, your time is up, so we'll try to get the answers to your questions once we have the last
There's
speaker.
so much about this project that's wrong,
Thank you.
and that's your job.
Kent Myers?
Yes, I have a couple questions. Who will pay to improve Almoni Road?
I don't, that's
City
not,
and the county.
Who is going,
city and the county.
okay, and how much will that cost the city and the county?
I don't have those,
$1.8 million.
Okay, so, and that money came from the taxpayers, correct? How much is Megacrete paying for the 86 acres?
I don't know that either.
Nothing. Okay, so the taxpayers are paying for that. So between the two, you're looking at well over $3 million of taxpayers' money going to a billionaire in Mexico to create 40 jobs that will not make a living wage. On top of that, they're using 40,000 gallons of water a day, correct? In the beginning, who knows in the future? And beyond that, they need 10 to 12 acres. Let's give them 86. It's just the taxpayers' money. And on top of that, you're annexing it in, turning it into industrial in across from a residential neighborhood in a farm area. This, Megacrete, they're doing the right thing. You guys are not doing the right thing with the citizens of Kerrville and Kerr County. It's just not right all the way through. And I'm done. Thank you.
That is the end of the public hearing. We'll close the public hearing at 4:17. Anybody have any comments from the city?
Mike, I can speak to some of them.
Okay.
Mike, that microphone's not working.
I'm really loud.
Okay.
So it's a zoning hearing, so I'll speak to the EIC component of it, and the math behind all that, but it's not germane to that portion of it. So when cities and counties look at economic development projects, they look at those things through the lens of, is this going to bring value? Is this the highest and best use of that property? What has that property been used for? So for the past 20 years, that thing has sat vacant because that USDA deal did not happen, right? And so when we've been discussing this with Megacrete, not only are they going to invest $25 million on that property, they're going to be relocating their sales office here. So that means all their point of sale, all of their sales tax dollars will come here. So while it is a grant of the land that has a $1.3 million value and the expansion of the road, that is offset by the sales tax and the property tax that is generated by that. Now, however, that's not a planning and zoning question. That's not part of this rezoning. I just wanted to answer that. To speak to how their facility is going to run and operate, so it is enclosed, and Emilio can speak to this, but it is fully enclosed. It is not, the EIC is going to approve the elevations on there. We're not going to have an issue with an 18-foot ceiling. I can tell you that, that's not going to be an issue. If it was going to be smokestacks that were, 6 stories high, that would be an issue. But those aren't going to be, as a challenge, that's not going to be an issue for us. The composition of the road will be handled during platting. As far as TxDOT's concerned, they're gonna weigh in on that. They're gonna tell us what we need to do. We've begun the preliminary engineering on the road. component, so that's gonna be widened from Al Mooney all the way to their drive access point. That's what I've got, Mike.
No issues with 35 feet on the silos, on the roof line?
I don't think so, sir, no.
The zoning district itself does not have a height limitation. But since it is next to the airport, there are height restrictions all around the airport, for obvious reasons. In this area, their maximum height to meet the airport height hazard is roughly 120 feet. That would not have a negative impact, up to 120 feet would not have a negative impact on the airport operations. So they're obviously well within that.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I have some, it might not, it probably doesn't pertain to planning and zoning, but Michael, talking about property tax and sales tax. So, I mean, they move out there and they start that. If they fail within a certain amount of years, is there a payback?
So there's several clawbacks within our agreement, some of which last 10 years, some of which last 3 years after they get their certificate of occupancy. And so EIC has right of first refusal on any sales, right? So if they get foreclosed on after they put $25 million worth of stuff on the ground, then I think we would be able to claw that back based on our provisions. So yes, we have several. Mike Hayes put more clawbacks in than we're ended up in the agreement, but we have several. Yes, sir.
Is the main access point coming into this plant, is it gonna be Al Mooney Road, or is it gonna be Peterson Farm Road?
No, it absolutely is Al Mooney Road. So, you know, one of the things that we can control is, you know, we have worked this out with them. Peterson Farm Road will not work for them. Doesn't work for their trucks, doesn't work for the county, doesn't work for the city. We didn't want to impact that neighborhood. We didn't want to impact that. Al Mooney is perfect as an access point for that, and however, it's not wide enough. So we needed to go in there and we needed to make that road wider. So what I can guarantee is that those trucks have to come and go out of Al Mooney Road. They're gonna have to go through there. Day-to-day employees coming through in their cars, coming to work, that's gonna be a little harder to traffic. But those trucks coming and going have to go through Al Mooney Road.
Is there a stipulation that can be put in this agreement on development that forbids concrete trucks coming up Peterson Road?
No, for the zoning, we couldn't put any restrictions off the property, no.
Public hearing's closed, sir. One of the other comments was made about the sand silica that's getting into the air. Can you address that, sir?
Yes, sir.
Both the silica sand and the gypsum that are going to be stored outside, they're going to be stored in an enclosed facility. 3 walls, a roof, and only a space for a front loader to bring the material out and put it inside in the enclosed facility. All production is going to be on the enclosed main building. Now, talking about the silica sand as a causing cancer, we have developed what is called an environmental product declaration for this type of product. The final product and all the components of it don't qualify, not even for a second analysis, because they do not produce cancer when the product is completely done, completely finished. And if I may, one more thing, sir. We have checkpoints in these facilities. Everywhere there's a possibility that dust come out, we have dust collector systems. And then everything is stored, milled with water, and then re-enter the process. So we do not let dust to go outside. Yes, we do deal with cement. Yes, we do deal with lime. And there's a possibility that when we are dumping into the silos, there's a small amount of cement that is floating into the air. It's less than 10 kilos per day. That's 18 pounds per day which is nothing.
Sir, go ahead and ask your question.
With the sales tax revenues generated from the sales, I can understand, with that will refund, you know what I'm saying, for the benefit of the city. If they're selling to vendors in other locations in the United States, the sales tax would be at those points, not here. Is there any stipulations on that?
I don't have, I can't
We
answer
can
that
talk about
question.
after, that's not part of the plan, this is, so the planning and zoning meeting has to stick with the planning and zoning of the property. Can't speak to the
Okay.
sales, that's not their purview.
Yeah, we're only here to
For planning
determine
zone.
whether or not we want to change
Okay,
the
the other
zone.
meeting that was behind closed doors, I wasn't allowed to be here, or anybody, so I didn't know what.
I think maybe that's a question you can meet with EIC. You could talk to someone at EIC and they could give you the answers to that question.
Okay.
Understand whatever we do here, it still goes to, city council has the final say. We make a recommendation, city council has the final say on whether this project goes forward or not. And there'll be 2 public hearings on that once it's, I'm assuming, is that right, Drew? Or one?
One public hearing here, one public hearing with city council.
Yes, sir, John.
Mike, I have a lot of experience with aquifers, but not with municipal water systems. The flush, if you will, that's the end of the line, that fire hydrant, I guess.
Correct.
And what exactly happens to that water on a daily basis to satisfy TCEQ?
I believe it's flushed into the creek, so it goes back into the river system.
All right, so it just goes away.
Correct.
So we've already paid to put it in there.
That's correct.
Can we sell that water?
Yes. So having a water user at the end of that long dead end will help not flush the water, but keep the water flowing so that it does comply with TCEQ, and that water will be sold and used rather than just flushed back into the river
So
system.
not only are we not putting another straw in the ground, we're taking flush water and turning it in to recovered.
Yes.
Correct.
And surely, I know this is at permit, and after engineering, that certainly there's gonna be some sort of retention in the final plan, construction plans.
Yes, any stormwater detention or retention required must meet state and local standards. Same with there was a question about septic as well. That'll have to be engineered and follow all state standards for the.
And will they not be using the sewer main that's right there in front of the property?
No, there's not a sewer main close enough to the property to tie into.
Okay.
What was the zoning on the property, Drew, before it was zoned for the USDA?
I believe it was brought in to the city as.
It was
PD.
brought into the city, so it was just in the county ag land,
I
or?
believe so. I think it was purchased and zoned at the same time, but
Okay.
I can follow up with you on that. I'll double check.
All right, I guess if we don't have any other comments or questions, we can call this to a vote. Under the rezoning, to change the zoning from Planned Development District to IM Industrial, can I have a recommendation?
I move for approval.
We have a motion to approve?
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor? All opposed? All right, this motion passes. We're going to move on to 3B.
The variance request in accordance with Chapter 92 of the Sign Code of the Code of Ordinances, City of Kerrville, to allow directional signs to exceed 6 square feet for Peterson Regional Medical Center, located at 551 Hill Country Drive. With that, I'll turn it over to the applicant and give just a brief.
Good afternoon, Joe Pizor with Peterson Health. So today before you, we're asking for a variance request for 2 directional signs on our campus in regards to the new surgery center that's being built. Drew's got some pictures up there. So these were pictures that we took for the existing directional signs that are there that we had received a variance for a couple of years ago that exceed the 6 square feet. So you can see on the left side is a sign that abides by the 6 square foot signage code. On the right side is roughly approximately 12 square feet. And so you can see that does exceed the variance, but when you look at the demographic of Kerrville, we have an aging demographic. A 6 square foot sign is extremely small, and really by the time you need to make a decision on where to go on the campus, you're pretty much right up at the sign, and it's almost too late. Also, for those folks coming to the hospital may not be feeling all that well, may be coming in an emergency, and so again, we want folks to be able to see those signs a little bit before they get right up on top of that sign. Again, the request would be in line with signs that are already on the campus that do exceed the existing 6 square feet code. And so happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Anybody have any questions for the public hearing? We're going to open the public hearing at 4:30, and I have one speaker, Bonnie Johnson.
Bonnie Johnson, Easy Storage Partner, 418 Thompson Drive. Recently, I've had the need to travel to Peterson Hospital on a daily basis. Easy Self-Storage is in favor of your proposal. I do have a concern. The new surgical center finished grade is approximately 8 feet above our property. The concrete driveway is almost the same height as our security fencing. There's approximately 10 feet of steep terrain of hospital property between the new driveway of the surgical center and our property line. And at this time, we see no evidence of water control features to prevent water ingress onto our property. We would greatly appreciate your consideration in this matter.
Thank you. Yeah, Mike?
We'll have engineering reach out.
Man, it's going to be bad.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing at 4:32. Do you have any comments or questions? Do anything?
As Ms. Pizor alluded to, there was a variance previously approved for the existing signs. They are updating that partially because of the construction of the surgical center. Here's the site plan for all the new signage. All of the signs except these 2 directionals have already been approved and permitted. So we're just looking at these 2 directionals, again, just for better location services as people are coming onto the campus. Obviously, Peterson being a larger campus is kind of the outlier. Sign code was not written for properties this big. It was written for directionals going into drive-through restaurants and that sort of thing. So certainly an exception.
Anything else? All right. I'll entertain a motion on the variance for the signs.
I'll move to approve the variance as requested.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. All right, this motion passes. Anything else, Drew?
We do have a meeting April 4th. We will have a pretty full agenda, so look forward to that. And then hopefully by April, we can have a little more update and information on the upcoming comprehensive plan update.
Okay.
So going through proposals right now, and we'll hopefully have council selected a candidate by then.
Okay, cool.
So
All
we'll
right.
keep you posted.
We are adjourned.